Yeah, thanks very much, Chrissy, and good afternoon, everyone. Here to give you a very brief update on Charger Metals and, in particular, on our two key lithium assets here in Australia. The usual disclaimers you can work through. So I'd like to start by giving a very brief overview of who we are at Charger Metals and exactly what we do. In a nutshell, we're a ASX-listed junior explorer focused on systematic exploration of our two highly prospective lithium projects. In Western Australia, we have our Lake Johnson lithium project. Our first drill holes, our maiden program into our first target, successfully intersected very high-grade lithium in a swarm of spodumene-bearing pegmatites. We've subsequently delineated some very highly prospective other targets that we've recently either been drilling or about to drill. And importantly, at Lake Johnson, we have a binding farming agreement with the mighty Rio Tinto, which I'll delve into shortly. Our other key asset up in the territory is the Bino lithium project, directly along strike and surrounded by Core Lithium's Finniss project. Again, we've already confirmed spodumene within pegmatite mineralisation through drilling last year and have well over 20 targets that we still haven't drill tested. So looking at a quick corporate snapshot, we're very tightly held, very tight structure with only 77 odd million shares on issue. Like every other junior lithium explorer, we have a very low EV at the moment, so very much leveraged to exploration success, any exploration success that we have, and also an improvement in the lithium markets, which I think recently we're starting to see, improving slightly. We're a strong cash position, well funded. We have about $3 million in the bank at the end of September. So well funded, and obviously Rio Tinto funding Lake Johnson, that money will see us well into next year. We have a very experienced board and senior management team, not only in the battery mineral space, but also in exploration success, making major discoveries, and then subsequent mine development. So if we look at our shareholder register, we've had some big changes recently, which is certainly worth going into. Last month, Core Lithium announced that they had acquired 9.8% shareholding of Lithium Australia. So they are now our major shareholders. Now this follows, prior to that, a non-binding indicative proposal by Core to actually acquire the whole of Charger Metals. So certainly a lot of interest in us and in our projects by Core Lithium, and it makes sense. There's obviously obvious synergies between our two projects up there in the territory, so you can understand their interest. Of note there also is our second major shareholder, which is Rio Tinto Exploration. They're at 6.1%, which again I'll get into shortly. So, what's the value proposition from Charger Metals? Basically, we have two key lithium projects. Now, two projects, each one with multiple prospect, high potential target areas, very underexplored historically for lithium, and on both we have already proven that we have spodumene mineralisation on both. So, in other words, fantastic potential to make a serious discovery, both in terms of grade and scale. The other key factor of our projects is the location. They're both located in Tier 1 Australian jurisdictions with fantastic infrastructure, ports, existing lithium mining and infrastructure. Exploration, we're committed to systematic exploration across both prospects. We really believe in the potential of both of our projects. We're getting out there doing that work that's necessary to give ourselves every chance of that exploration success. And as I mentioned, we have the team, the experience in the team to make those discoveries and move the projects along. So looking in more detail at our two projects, starting with Lake Johnson. Lake Johnson is located in the Yilgarn lithium belt. Now Australia is probably producing over half of the world's lithium still at the moment, and you can see there on that map there are 10 major large JORC compliant resources in the Yilgarn there, with Lake Johnson pretty much smack bang in the middle of all of those, and only 70 k's away, so closest to the largest of them all in Earl Grey. So obviously fantastic location for prospectivity for lithium, but also with that port, rail, road access and all that supportive infrastructure from the mining-centric region. As I said, we are in a binding farming agreement at Lake Johnson with Rio Tinto. And I thought it prudent just to reiterate the terms of that agreement here, because I think it's a real validation of the potential of this project to host a real large-scale lithium deposit. Now, Rio Tinto are there to find Rio Tinto scale deposits, in other words, big lithium deposits. So I think it's a really good signal for us and to the market that, you know, they believe, like we do, in the potential of our Lake Johnston. So they paid us $1.7 million initially up front in cash, and hence the 6% shareholding as well. They're currently in the first 12-month phase where they have to spend $3 million in exploration expenditure, which they're working through right now. Having achieved that early next year, they have the choice to spend a total of $10 million in exploration expenditure. There's cash payments up to $1.5 million along that way, and that can get them up to 51%. And then a further 30, so a total of 40 million exploration expenditure can get them up to 75%. So a really good deal for the Charger and its shareholders, and not only a validation of the prospectivity, but I think also you can see there that the valuation that this project has is potentially a lot higher than what we're seeing in current market conditions. So looking at the high-grade lithium potential and the work to date we have done at Lake Johnston, we've identified several key target areas, starting with the Metcalfe spodumene prospect, where we've already drilled and identified high-grade lithium within a swarm of spodumene-bearing pegmatites. And more recently, to the west of the Metcalfe prospect is a new trend that we've called Metcalfe West, again of spodumene pegmatites. We have the Mount Day prospect, which is a really large outcropping field and soil anomaly. And we also have Mount Gordon prospect, which again is defined by large lithium in soil anomalies and associated structures. So if we look at our Metcalfe prospect first, which is our most advanced prospect, initially we had that strong soil anomaly over 1,400 metres long. We went out there, we saw the outcropping pegmatites, you can see the visual spodumene, we rock chipped that, and you can see there 1.5 to 7% lithium. It's very high grade. Last year we put 41 holes into it, RC holes, and followed that up this year with several diamond holes, deep diamond holes underneath, and you can see there from those numbers there, all of the drilling successfully intersected multiple veins of spodumene pegmatites with some pretty high grade lithium results. So at the moment we've probably defined it over a strike of 700 metres, down dip to a distance of 650 metres, and a cumulative thickness of the sort of three main veins, if you will, of 10 to 15 metres thick. So it's starting to add up. It is very much open at depth and potentially along strike, so there's a real possibility to build tonnes through some extensional drill holes there. This is just an example. You can see that beautiful large coarse grain spodumene crystal there in our drill core from Metcalfe, resulting in 2.7% lithium. And on the other side there is just a typical cross section which shows that multiple veins of spodumene pegmatites within that broader mineralised envelope. So more recently, to the west of Metcalfe, you can see Metcalfe in the top corner there, we identified another trend of outcropping spodumene pegmatites, again visual spodumene, over 1.2 kilometres long, which we called Metcalfe West. So you can see there that strike there is basically at right angles to the main strike of the main Metcalfe prospect. Again, rock chipping resulted in some very high grades, up to 4.2%. So recently we did that first phase of drilling into it, and again that very first hole was successful in intersecting 18 metres at 1.46%. So great start. We have some more results pending, but really we need to do a lot more drilling there to define the thickness, define the orientation, define the extents, particularly up in that northwest corner where Metcalfe West and Metcalfe are going to meet. So we're gearing up to get into that second phase of drilling very shortly. Looking at our Mount Day prospect, as I said, it's very large. It's 5.5 by 1.5 kilometre pegmatite field, LCT pegmatites. Again, some very high soils, and then rock chipping of the pegmatites resulted in some very high rock chip grades. Last quarter we completed an Aboriginal heritage survey over Mount Day, and we've also completed targeted flora surveys, so they're both critical path to be able to obtain your drilling permits. We've submitted some POW applications, and with luck we get those very soon, and again as soon as we get those we'll be drilling some deep holes into Mount Day. At Mount Gordon, again, soils has been the key predominant targeting tool. We've identified some large soil anomalies up to 3 kilometres long. You can see there, and you heard this morning from TG Metals, our neighbours there to the west, very successful in defining first Burmeister and later on Jägermeister spodumene deposits based on soils. So it really bodes well for the prospectivity of our Mount Gordon prospect. So we've drilled a really first pass line of drill holes across that western anomaly there, but in that process and doing the work out there, we've defined some pretty exciting priority targets to the eastern side of the tenement. Again, we've submitted some POWs, and with luck we get those soon, and we'll be straight out there drilling those targets as well. Interestingly enough, I was exploring for lithium. We've discovered a niobium soil anomaly at Mount Gordon in the southern portion of the tenement. We did some follow-up geophysical work, and there's several discrete coincident mag and gravity bodies within that area of the niobium anomaly. We also did some micro XRF scanning of some heavy mineral pan concentrates of selected soil samples there in that region, and consistently had the presence of titanite, which is a mineral that's often associated with carbonatites. So we don't know what we've got down there. We're certainly focused on the lithium, but the next phase is obviously to drill some holes, potential air core lines across that, get below the weathered profile. So again, we're doing those targeted flora surveys and heritage surveys so we can get the permits to do that drilling. Moving on to our second main project, at Bino Lithium Project up there in the Northern Territory. Fantastic location, about an hour's drive from Darwin, and very much located in the centre of a spodumene-enriched province. I guess of critical importance is the pink there. We are absolutely surrounded by and along strike from Core Lithium's Finniss project. Even those two grey rectangles within our tenure are mining leases that Core Lithium own, so very much in their wheelhouse. If you don't know Core, they have resources of 48 million tonnes at 1.26% and an established beneficiation plant there at Grants, which is within 20 k's of our project. The mag and the gravity data sets, the regional data sets, very much suggest that we're on that same structural corridor, that prospective corridor for lithium. So we had over 25 lithium target areas defined at our Bino project, either through soils, outcropping pegmatites and or historic tin tantalum workings. In our drilling last year, we tested 7 of those, and 3 of those had spodumene within LCT pegmatites up to 24 metres wide, so we know we're in the right area, we're seeing the right minerals and scale. Later last year, we completed some soil sampling, some ANT surveys and gravity surveys in that northeastern portion of the tenement, which is trending up towards the core deposits, and defined a further 11 targets. So we've still got well over 20 priority targets that we need to drill, and are working on those permits to get drilling there next dry season. I won't dwell too long on this slide, but certainly we all know that the lithium market's been hammered for the last couple of years. But I guess in that sense, the EV sales have continued to grow, albeit not at the rate that was initially forecasted. The fundamentals are the same, the thematics are the same in terms of that whole EV thematic. And so I think it now is exactly the right time to be exploring for lithium and making those discoveries so that you are ready for that turn in market and that turn in lithium price. So to wrap it up, why should you invest in Charger Metals? Basically, we have those 2 highly prospective lithium assets, lithium projects within Tier 1 jurisdictions in Australia. We've proven that we've got lithium mineralisation, high-grade lithium mineralisation with spodumene at both places. We've still got many targets to go. We are systematically working our way through that exploration process, firmly supported by Rio Tinto at our Lake Johnson project. And we're well funded, tight capital structure, and we're very much leveraged to future exploration success and a turn in the lithium markets. Thank you very much. Come and see us if you want to have a chat and know more.